let's get started. I'm gonna jump out here. Got a nice little background track for you over, if you guys can hear that music in the back. Sarah, good to see you as well. But like I said, about 45 minutes to an hour, we'll finish up before 6 o'clock, seeing the biggest parts of the Gothic Quarter. And if at any time you guys have questions, you just let me know. All right. And we got another jumping in, Ian from England. Awesome to see you. Awesome to see you. We had a question here. I'm going to switch this back over so you can start to see a little bit of Barcelona. We are in, where are we right now? The Plaza Nova. This is the new plaza, and this is called the new plaza because it is a new plaza. All of this used to be buildings, all of this used to be different housing, very dense communities that they tore down when they were really building this entire Gothic Quarter, all right? And that's what we're gonna be talking about today. What's going on with this Gothic Quarter? What does that all mean? But we can see what I love right here. I'm gonna try to get you a good view of the letters that we asked about before. And those letters you can see right there. Barquino. Barquino was the Roman name for the city of Barcelona, founded all the way back in about 15 BC. So we're talking over 2,000 years of history, and this was where the Roman city was. That Barquino name that you can see, that tour group right there, would have led you right into those old walls. You can see those old walls right there. Oh no, joining in from the Bourne, hello. And you can see that main entrance people are using today, right, would have brought you into the old Roman city. Now, what's happening here is the Romans were here for about 5 centuries. And then we have this evolution, we have this change. And I don't want to bore you guys down with too much history to start, but those Romans are going to be gone around that 5th century. And what happens is you have the Visigoths come in. The Visigoths here for about 200 years. The Muslims come in through the south of Spain, and then they're only here for about 84 years. And so what you get in Barcelona is you get Charlemagne and those Frankish kings coming over from that Frankish territory. And so this is when you're going to start to see these big changes. And this is when you're going to see Barcelona really start to make these different changes we'll talk about a little bit later, but growing into a maritime empire. And as they grow into this maritime empire, these are the big years for Barcelona. And because of those big years for Barcelona, the architectural style in these times, in those Middle Ages, was Gothic architecture. And so when we fast forward all these years to the end of the 1800s, to the beginning of the 1900s, the idea is this Catalan Renaissance, to go back to the past. And when we're going back to this past, what we want to do is we want to show off when Barcelona was a really, really big city. When was it a big city? Right around that, maybe the 1200s, 1300s. What was the architectural style? Gothic architecture. So how can we show that off? Let's create the Gothic Quarter. And that's where you start to see what's really interesting is a lot of this Gothic architecture you see is neo-Gothic architecture. That's going to be implemented later to show off these big, big times, these big, important years for Barcelona. And that's what we're going to get into. You can see the Roman wall that extends down over here. We'll get over to the cathedral right now. Patrick Ko is in from the Philippines as well. Miriam from Tokyo. Guys, this is great. This is awesome because, like I said, I haven't been doing tours that much lately because they're not everybody coming in, but you guys joining me today, getting those feelings back about those tours. And here we are. I'm going to bring back over here so you can see this Gothic cathedral, the Cathedral of Barcelona, not to be confused with the Sagrada Familia here. There's a lot more people than I thought would be around. I'm kind of dodging people as we move, but you guys can see this idea right up to the top. We got a Michaela, hello from Germany. Leandro, this square is closed. Yeah, to through traffic, this is closed. But what you're going to do is you're going to see in the mornings a lot of times those trucks and everybody coming through to drop off different places, you know, their coffees, their materials, whatever they need. So you will see some traffic here, but for the most part, you know, I'll show you this right here. This is going to be all for through traffic right there. You guys can see what's actually set up right now a lot of times is a little seating area for the sardana. Sardana is a very famous Catalan dance, a typical traditional Catalan dance that will be done out in this plaza on the weekends, Saturdays, Sundays. A lot of times it's on Sundays, and they set up these areas. This is a little bit newer. This is more of the COVID sardana because you've got the chairs spaced out. You guys can see right there. But usually this entire plaza is going to be used, and you'll see people dancing around, get into a circle, and they do the traditional dance. Okay. But what I want to do is I want to get in a little bit closer, and I want to get closer to the cathedral so we can check out the facade. Because as I always tell people, hey, Daniel from New York coming in, and who else is in there? From Houston, Texas. Got a lot of people in. This is great. But like I was saying, what I always tell people is that to understand the Gothic Quarter, the big thing that you need to understand is this cathedral. And the one thing that I love about the Gothic Quarter is that it visibly tells you the history of Barcelona, visibly tells you this history of Catalonia. And so you get a little bit closer here, you can see all of that detail, all of this neo-Gothic kind of extra ornamentation. William, hope you can make it out to Barcelona next year. That'd be great. But what I'm trying to show you guys right here, and we'll come back to this facade, is through the street, you notice that the color changes, okay? Now this is the original facade over to the right. The second part that we were seeing, the main part just over here, this is the newer facade. This is gonna be put in at the end of the 1800s. Realistically, the cathedral as a whole started in 1298. The first stones put in 1298, and the cathedral is not going to be finished until 100%, it's not going to be finished until 1913. And you can see this new facade. That's that new addition from 1913. Well, what's going on in 1913? We had been talking about that Catalan Renaissance, this idea of going back to the past and showing off Barcelona's big time. So one thing that Barcelona is trying to do is not only call attention to those Middle Ages, that Gothic architecture, but they're trying to bring in tourism. In 1888, they have the World's Fair. And when they have the World's Fair, the idea is to bring in a lot of people. Barcelona didn't get a lot of tourists before. It's kind of hard to believe with the amount that we usually get, but Barcelona didn't get all of those tourists. And so one of the big things was to actually make something that would really bring those people in and make them like this area, really have a great experience here in Barcelona. And so the Gothic Quarter was born. The idea of changing not only the cathedral's facade, but changing the buildings that match all around it to make that same style are going to give you that name, the Gothic Quarter. All right? And so that's what we have. I'll go back over to the cathedral here. I want to say hello again. Oh, we got another Argentina in the house. Maria Florin, and then Karina coming in from Buenos Aires as well. All right. So, Argentinians always love to travel over here. And so glad that you guys are joining me for this as well. But like I was saying, the idea is to try to match this new idea. Now, what's the difference that we're going to see maybe as we're walking around in the Gothic Quarter from the cathedral facade, this neo-Gothic, from the Catalan Gothic, from the side that we saw before? Catalan Gothic is very simplistic. There's not a lot of decoration. There's not a lot of ornamentation. I'll take you guys over so we can see the older facade, right? And you'll see not only just in the colors, so we can see, right, this darker stone, it's older, but it's this idea of the lack of ornamentation. And so when we get to the back, where we get some of the original stone as well, you see that difference, all right? And it's not just the decoration, but it's also the functionality. And this is what makes it so spectacular. When we're talking about functionality, kind of hard to see with that lighting, but if you guys can see up to the top there, those are gargoyles. And those gargoyles function, all right? So if it rains, one of the best things about Barcelona is that it doesn't rain too often, right? Barcelona doesn't rain so often, and if it does, you're going to see water coming out of their mouths. And those are functional gargoyles. Now, at other times, we might see some gargoyles that are not going to be functional. And when you don't have a functional gargoyle, what it's called really is a grotesque. Now, that's one of those little tricks that'll help you, not only just the color of the stone, but help you kind of see what's from the Middle Ages, right? Or it might have been from those Middle Ages, and what's been put on a little bit more recently. What's been on a little bit more recently. Is there any saint buried in the church? We got a question. Yes, there is a saint buried in the church. The Cathedral of Barcelona, where we are, right, is not only known as the Cathedral of Barcelona, it's also known as the Cathedral of Santa Eulalia and the Cathedral of the Holy Cross. Now, Eulalia is the patron saint of Barcelona. She's one of two patron saints that Barcelona city has. And Santa Eulalia is actually buried, she's buried in the crypt on the inside of the cathedral. So the patron saint of Barcelona, celebrated every February 12th. Big celebrations over here. She's buried in the crypt, and you can go visit her. They say there's a legend behind the legend of Santa Eulalia that if you go into the crypt, you don't want to open that coffin, because if you do, you're going to be struck blind. You cannot look at her body or you'll be struck blind. All right? And if you guys are interested, there's a very big legend about kind of all these tortures. She had 13 different tortures, really bad stuff. Then she was tortured by the Roman Emperor Diocletian at the time. If you're interested in that, I actually have a video on my channel that's all about the legend of Santa Eulalia that explains all that for you, so you can definitely check that out when we're finished up with the tour. Eddie bringing back memories from 2017. Awesome, that's great to hear. Hope great memories right there. All right, and so you have that idea within just the facade, all right? And you can see all of that detail. Get back over to the facade for you guys. You can see all that detail that we might not see as we go through, but a lot of the other buildings are going to be very representative of this. This is that model to build all of the Gothic Quarter after. And it's a Gothic Quarter that's going to be built, giving it this name. It's going to be being built up into the 50s, up into the 60s, right back here. About the unicorn. All right, we're coming around the side of the cathedral. You can see quite a bit of movement going on. And we're in the Plaza U right here, which is the side of the cathedral. And you can see what would have been the main door back in the day. You have to think that where we entered into the Gothic Quarter, that used to be the Roman wall, so there wasn't a way to get in to the city just right there. So that part of the facade wasn't going to be seen, right? And so that facade that we were seeing, like I said, was put in so much later. The original facade wasn't seen. It wasn't that decorative, wasn't anything. And you couldn't really move like we had just right there. So this would have been the main entrance. And one of my favorite things, thank you, Brett, of the Menorca video. One of my favorite things, if you guys can see that little door up on the top right there, you can see that little door. That's the door that the king used to get into the cathedral from. So you can see it used to be connected to the building across the way, which we'll see in just a minute, which would have been the Viceroy's palace. And the kings and queens weren't here in Barcelona. The Viceroy was going to be the one in charge. This is their palace. And it's connected into even the royal palace, where we'll go in just a second here. You can see that's one of my favorite little details that maybe not a lot of people see when they're coming to Barcelona. Maybe you don't look up. Just right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to head around and get into the Plaza del Rey, the Square of the King. And I think that tells you what was going on in there. We're going to get to that royal palace, like I just said, and see even that royal palace where the kings and queens used to stay. Just before we get through, bring you up to the back. It's kind of hard to see with that light, but right here you have the unicorn. All sorts of different animals across the way. Some of that original stone right there. But all of that is some of that original parts of the cathedral. Some of the original stone from the end of that 13th century. But like I said, we'll get out from behind the cathedral and we'll get over to the Plaza del Rey, the Square of the King. You can see we've got a bar set up out here today. And this is one of my favorite plazas within the Gothic Quarter, right? Very important spot in terms of those kings and queens, any of kind of that royalty. We talked about the Viceroy's Palace, which is just here. Try to back up and get that into focus for you. But this is an area that's changed quite a bit over the time. You've got that Viceroy's Palace. You can see the Cathedral Tower right there, and King Martin's Tower, and the Royal Palace. Now, like we were talking about, what's happening in Barcelona in those Middle Ages when this is going to be one of those main plazas, when this is the seat of power, basically. This is the area where Ferdinand and Isabel, even those kings and queens of Castile and Aragon, this is where they're going to be coming if they were visiting Barcelona at the time. And you can see right here on the steps what you're going to have, where everybody's sitting right here. This is the steps, they say, where Isabel and Ferdinand received Christopher Columbus when he came back from his first trip to the New World. 1492 he goes over there, back in 1493, and they say it was here where he was received. Nobody really knows that for sure. We're not sure that that's where it was. We're thinking it was maybe on the outside of Barcelona. But it makes for great stories when you can say, hey, let's go sit down on the steps where Isabel and Ferdinand met Columbus when he comes back. All right? But this is going to be that royal palace, like I said. And Barcelona in those Middle Ages is going to be such an important place because of, you can see the dog, you guys can hear in the background, because of its trade and that maritime trade. And so over the years, over the centuries, why all this Gothic architecture again is so important is that Barcelona is going to start to expand. And it's not going to just be Barcelona, but within this Kingdom of Aragon, within these different regions, right? Kingdom of Aragon is made up of the region of Aragon, of Catalonia today, and even Valencia, right? These places are going to have this expansion out. Parts of southern France, the Balearic Islands, Menorca, Mallorca, Ibiza, a lot of people know about that, right? We're going to go to parts of Italy. Right? These are parts of the world today that were under the crown of Aragon, as far as Athens before. And so this was a really, really big time. So how can we show all this off? Well, it's through all this Gothic architecture that we're seeing. And you even have the Royal Chapel that's connected in. Now, despite the fact that you have all of these buildings that are a mixture from the 1100s, 1200s, 1300s, right? My favorite building is this one right here. And usually when we have people on the tours, we're not too impressed by it. But remember what I was talking about earlier when I was saying the idea of Gothic architecture being very simplistic. This is a house. This is a house realistically from the 1400s. Now this house was not originally here when it was built. It was actually built on the other side of this entire plaza. There's a street on the outside called Via Laietana. And that was built in about 1920. And when they built this new road, they had to tear down a lot of these different houses. Remember, we're preserving a lot of these places. And this became one of the houses that they decided to preserve. This house was taken apart brick by brick and moved. It was stored in a warehouse for some years. And it was moved into this plaza. And in 1943, they decided to open up the History Museum of Barcelona. It's an absolutely incredible museum to go into because what they found under the house, and they did some excavations in this entire plaza, was that the Roman city still exists. And the Roman city, get a little bit closer, you guys can see maybe a little bit of it. The Roman city is under, believe it or not, where we're standing right now, this entire plaza. Might be a little bit harder to see with the window here, but you get the idea that it still goes down. And below where we are right now, part of that Roman city you can walk through. And so that's what the History Museum is all about. Going down and walking through all of those old Roman ruins, that Barcino that we were talking about before. Robin never looked up and saw kind of all the different things. That's one of the big things you have to do when you're in Barcelona. You know, there's so much to see, there's so much going on. But make sure that when you are walking around, Barcelona's not that tall, right? Barcelona is not that tall of a city, right? These buildings aren't so high. But there's so many things that are going on. I'm going to go back past the cathedral again, and I'll give you guys another idea of that older stone, right? Those gargoyles that we were looking at before. And we'll check that out. Joel did the tour with Sandemans and is joining again. So I hope this is bringing back some great memories for you as well. Pointing the camera up and you guys are just looking at me. So probably switch that around. And again, back out. We're walking behind the cathedral right now. And you can see those different gargoyles. I know the light is not great there. You can see that idea. There's a cow. It's like a little cougar. A ram over on the side. There's even some pigs. But you can see this whole idea of that stone. And if you remember the color from before, you can see that difference right there. Leandro asking about moving the house. Yeah, they moved the house. They moved a lot of different things. That road, if anyone's been to Barcelona, Via Laietana, is really big. And the idea was to connect the newer part of the city that they had built with the port. And so what they did is they had to move a lot of those buildings. Some of them just got destroyed, but that house specifically, Reyes, that was brick by brick, stone by stone moved into that spot. We got the cleanup crew coming in. So hopefully you guys can still hear me. But even houses like this, which is part of the government building today, there are parts of different houses inside of this building as well. It's a mixture of different centuries. But again, it's that whole idea of making that Gothic Quarter, giving it that name, and really sharing that history of the past. We're going to try to get by the cleanup crew in just a minute here. When they get through, you can watch them do their maneuvers here. But I'd like to get over past this spot and into the next plaza. This is the best way for us to go. Some other people walking as well. A little run. You guys can see a little bit of the back streets through Barcelona. But we are very much in that center. That Gothic Quarter is between that Via Laietana, where we were, and La Rambla. Famous street that if you've ever been here before, I'm sure you've walked down. And we're coming out to the main plaza, Plaza de Sant Jaume, right here in the Gothic. And this is the government square. You guys can see the government square right here. We'll get out into the middle. And we can check out the main buildings that are here. What you're looking at across the way right now is the City Hall. That is the government for Barcelona. And then exactly on the other side is the Generalitat. And the Generalitat is the government for Catalonia. So you have Barcelona specifically on one side, and then the Generalitat of Catalonia right there on the other side. So you have the two government buildings right here. And this is the plaza that if we saw the sardana in front of the cathedral, then what you'll have here is another spot where there's a lot of time to get together, a lot of different celebrations. Just right here, you can see down the road straight ahead, that would be La Rambla, right down through there. So you can see this is a nice throughway. If you've been to Barcelona, the Park of the Ciutadella, down the other way. So here you'll have the castells, the castellers, which are the people that are going to make these human towers and just stack themselves on top of each other. And these get really, really high. So you'll have all of these people get together and form a base and climb on top of each other and on top of each other and on top of each other. And they can get as high as 10 layers of people high. Doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, it's something spectacular to see. And that'll happen down in here as well. People checking out, what is he doing? Who is he talking to? And so what you'll have in here as well is one of my favorite things, because a lot of times when people come into Barcelona, what you see a lot of different flags. So we're about to transition into one of my favorite things in the tour, which is Fun with Flags. Patrick Guide Barcelona's Fun with Flags. All right, and you can see the flags up at the top right there. Just let me connect. Sorry about that. Let me connect the mic again. All right. All right. I just saw Colleen says, please keep doing them. So we will. We'll bring you to other places, not just the Gothic Quarter. Like I said, there's so much to see, but we'll do some more tours. We'll get around to different areas of Barcelona, and you guys just let us know what you want to see. Leave those questions, leave those comments, and we'll bring you to different spots as well. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit here so you guys can see those flags. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with that Spanish flag in the middle. And then there's two flags on each side, or one flag on each side. And what you can see within those flags, when you're over here in Barcelona, is the yellow flag with the 4 red bars is going to be the flag for Catalonia. It's the Catalan flag, and it's one of my favorite legends. If you guys have ever been on a tour with me, what you're gonna see is that I love a good legend. All right, what's going on with this one? Well, you have Charlemagne, who we were talking about, those Frankish kings that have basically come over to Barcelona, right, coming into these areas. And what they've done is they put in all of these different counts. Barcelona never had kings, right? They had these counts of the county later of Barcelona and the counties all around. And the count at the time, his name was Wilfrid the Hairy. Wilfrid the Hairy. Now, Charlemagne's not around anymore at this point, and Wilfrid the Hairy is fighting for, could not be a better name, Charles the Bald. And so it's Wilfrid the Hairy, Charles the Bald. And when Charles sees that Wilfrid, who's been fighting for him, doing his work for him, what he starts to do is he gets injured in battle. And when he gets injured in battle, you have to imagine, I've got a big wound on my side. And Charles comes rushing in and says, Wilfrid, what can I do for you? You've done so much for me with all this time. What could I possibly do for you? And Wilfrid says, listen, I've got this golden shield and there's no emblem. I'd really like an emblem. And Charles says, I got you, bro. Got the perfect idea. He takes 4 fingers, sticks them right into Wilfrid's wound, and draws those 4 fingers across his golden shield. And that's going to give you that Catalan flag, and that pattern for the Catalan flag that you can see right there. Now the flag on the right is the Barcelona city flag, and it's got that Catalan flag on the inside, those 4 bars, but it's also got the Holy Cross. And that cross of St. George, kind of the people that were in charge of Barcelona in the past, both the kings and queens of later Aragon, Counts of Barcelona, and even the idea of the bishops in the church. who were in charge. And the last flag you guys can see right there is very similar to that Catalan flag, very similar to that Puerto Rican flag, the Cuban flag. That's the flag for independence. Anybody that is for independence might have that on their balconies. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna get out of this plaza. You guys now have seen the flags, got an idea for what's going on in here. You can see a big meeting point for a lot of people. And we're gonna head down the Carrer del Bisbe. This is the Bishop's Street. And what you're gonna notice is maybe one of the most symbolic parts of Barcelona, and it's the bridge that comes up right here. And we've been talking this Gothic architecture, we've been talking about this idea of what's going on with Gothic architecture here. This is a neo-Gothic bridge from, I know you might not believe it, but it's from 1928. From 1928 is when we have the bridge, and it was put in by an architect who had worked very closely with Gaudí, Joan Rubio y Belvé. And when he puts in this bridge, it said that he had this amazing idea to tear down all the buildings in the Gothic Quarter. And when he wants to tear down all the buildings in the Gothic Quarter and build them very similar to this style, and it was going to look really beautiful, a lot of people are going to want to come in, his idea gets turned down. And when his idea gets turned down, he gets very, very angry, they say. And what he does is he sticks a skull underneath. See if we can get a little bit closer. See, there's a skull and there's a dagger on the inside. Turn around for you guys. And when he sticks that dagger in the skull, he says that anybody that takes that dagger out is gonna just take Barcelona down with it. Barcelona is just gonna crumble. And it's become a very, very famous bridge, very famous story. And they say if you walk under backwards while looking at the skull, you get good luck. So hopefully I just gave everybody some good luck right there. And you can see that bridge. It's one of the main things, not only the house, not only the cathedral, but also the bridge. Just so, so important. And weather-wise, guys, it's a little grayer right now, but midday was spectacular. We got some artists outside. Give you a little music. And hear that music. There's some spaces in the Gothic Quarter specifically where different artists can perform. You can hear that there. You see, Chris, what a view, amazing. Barcelona's beautiful, beautiful city. We're on the side of the cathedral. You guys can see into the cloister. I had a question earlier about the saint being buried, and there's actually, we can't see them right now, but there's 13 white geese to represent Santa Laulia on the inside of that cloister at all time. Live white geese. Patrick says he remembers getting a bite at Pan's back in the plaza. So guys, I'm seeing the chat, but I think that it's coming in a little bit slower than where I am. A little bit of a lag on my end on the chat. So if you're writing them in there, I apologize if I'm not responding right away. But keep that up, keep those comments going. I love to hear what you're seeing, what you're thinking about Barcelona. We're heading down to one of the more famous plazas again in Barcelona, Sant Felip Neri. You guys can see there's a group in front of us actually. So there are smaller groups, but remember here in Spain, the limit in public areas is 6 people. So you can see with the guide, there's 5 maybe in the family. Unless that it's a group of who you're living with, it could be a little bit more than 6. But those groups have been pretty limited to about 6 people. And Rebecca loved the lampposts. Yeah, we'll see some more in a little bit. And what I'm taking you into now, give you guys an idea of the plaza, is the Sant Felip Neri Plaza. And this is one that a lot of people come into. Beautiful, beautiful plaza. And what you can see here is that main fountain you guys might recognize from an Evanescence music video, very popular one. But what you have is the church, Sant Felip Neri. I'm going to try to back up and give you guys a good view. Edward, saludos también from Barcelona. And Lucila from Argentina as well. So hello to everybody. You guys can see that facade right here. And you can see all of the destruction across the bottom. Right? And what you can see, I'll come over just on this side so we can see it a little bit better where I am. But you can see all of these different holes in the Sant Felip Neri Plaza. And this is what makes this such an important plaza and such an interesting plaza for people to come in. Because these holes, what they're left from are some bombs that were dropped during the Spanish Civil War. The Spanish Civil War took place from 1936 to 1939. It's really kind of like a prelude to the Second World War that was happening. And a lot of people even talking now about the fact of, was it even part of that Second World War? Some historians looking into that because of the questions of, right, fascism, what was going on. And when the nationalists try a military coup to take over, what you're going to see is that they gain support from Hitler, from Mussolini. And that idea of fascism was fought from all over, and there are international brigades that came into Spain and fought back. Unfortunately, with kind of the air raids and the bombings that were going on and the support, General Franco is later going to become the dictator here in Spain, and he's going to be in power from 1939 until 1975. We'll go closer to some of these holes right here. And what he says when he wins that war is that these weren't bombs. 2 bombs dropped during the Italian Air Force raids. What he says is that these were bullet holes. And so when we get closer, you can see some of these smaller ones. Maybe it would be some believable things, but you can see such bigger damage over here that he said it was the Catalans themselves that were shooting priests, taking them out of the door and leaving these bullet holes here. And that was believed for years. And so one of the things they've done, as you can see across the way, there's a plaque to remember what did happen, that these were actually these bombs that came through. And they've even added, there's a plaque just on the outside of the plaza that we'll check out when we see, just over when we're leaving, you can see the destruction that was left. And I'll show you guys that because I think it is some pretty powerful imagery here, but it allows for everybody to see what really did happen. You can see all that destruction right there. And then we'll get a little bit closer so you can see that idea of what it actually looked like after the bombs fell. You can see a lot has changed, and they even moved some buildings. Some questions about those buildings that have moved. Some of the facades of these buildings here had been moved from even in front of the cathedral, some of those doors, and put in to repopulate the plaza and really fix it up. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to head on out. And I see that Rebecca's made a donation, so thank you very much for that. I didn't mention this at the beginning, but if you're watching on either SANDEMANs Live, YouTube, or the Facebook, there is that link for any of those donations that are going out and really going to be helping tour guides during these tough times. Not obligatory at all. More than anything, I'm just happy that you guys are here enjoying Barcelona. But if you are having a good time, if you are enjoying the tour, you're liking it, like Rebecca right there, thank you again. Feel free to leave those donations. But like I said, contribute in any way you can, making those comments. Leave a like if you're enjoying it as well, and I really do appreciate those things. What we're going to do is we're going to head out just from the plaza right here, Cathedral in the back. I'm going to take you guys over to one of my favorite plazas in all of Barcelona, definitely one of my favorite plazas in the Gothic Quarter, and we can wrap things up over there. I'll take you through some of the streets, and we'll finish up in the Plaza Real, okay? And we'll see a little bit more. Those of you that like the lamppost, we'll see a little bit more of those, and we'll finish over in that Plaza Real. If you have any questions, we can always leave those in there, and I'll get to them. But following this tour, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over directly onto my channel, and I'll be doing a live update that I've been doing every single week about kind of what's going on here in Barcelona, any new restrictions, measures, kind of new things that are coming out here. And anybody that wants to jump over and join me, if you've got questions that maybe we didn't get to answer, didn't get to ask during the tour, I'll be answering those during that time as well. So if you guys want to jump over, I'd really appreciate that as well. Eddie, just remembering the video clip from Evanescence. Yeah, if you've seen that, you know what I'm talking about. You guys can check out that Evanescence video as well. You'll see a little bit of Barcelona. And so what we're walking on right now, like I said, cutting over to the Plaza Real, is Banjno's Street, which are kind of like the new baths, is what it would be translated to. And this would have been basically part of or running along that old Roman wall. So we're still in the Roman city, right here in the Gothic Quarter, but we're kind of tracing what would have been that old Roman wall. And I'm sure this is a very popular street. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this if you've been over to Barcelona. A lot of questions about churros in Barcelona. That one's a very popular one. No places to sit down, but you can grab those churros there. And Lorraine, I'm glad you're liking the tour. Thank you very much. Thank you for your support, and thank you for those kind words. Really appreciate it. You can see some of the older shops as well. The hat shop. Obak, very famous. And what we'll do is we'll get through just a couple more minutes to get over to the Plaza Real. And like I said, we'll see some lampposts over there. We'll see a beautiful, beautiful plaza. And we'll kind of wrap everything up over there. And I'll see in the second part of Lorraine's message, tourism in Barcelona right now, this is what you're seeing is a lot of locals. This is locals that are back kind of in the city and using the city a lot. And that's what's really nice to see about it. It does look really busy. Right? Looks very busy. I was kind of surprised just to see how many people are out. Right? But when we had those severe lockdown measures where we couldn't leave our houses and the weather being nice finally again, a lot of people are really taking advantage and getting around. Spain is open to the EU, but tourism, in terms of just the leisure activity and coming into Spain, is not something that's being promoted, and depending on your country, it's not open still right now. So like I said, what you're seeing right now is a lot of locals just really enjoying the city. We're also getting closer to La Rambla. You see, we'll finish up in Plaza Real, which is just off of La Rambla. So you guys can have an idea of where we are. It's hard enough when we're walking around by ourselves to know where we are in all these winding streets. But I'm assuming with the camera, maybe we're not as located or know where we're going right now. So I'll try to point that out. Straight ahead, La Rambla. And if you went left, you'd get over to the port. Obviously to the right, you're getting up to the center, Barcelona, that Plaza Catalonia. All right, And you can see ahead of you the Plaza Real. And we'll get in there. I'll show you around a little bit. And this is one of my favorite plazas, like I said before, because in every Spanish city there's always this big open square. This one here in Barcelona has got those palm trees you can see coming in. Got those palm trees that are just beautiful setting against that Barcelona sky. Unfortunately, we lost that for today. But you can see the Plaza Real, which was a convent up into the mid-19th century, basically. And then that's why it has this form today, and it's opened up. Now, maybe you guys didn't notice while we were walking around, but bars close at 5 p.m. So we started at 5, so you wouldn't have seen any of those bars open. That's why there's not a lot going on in the plaza right now. You can see everything closed down. I was here walking around yesterday, checking it out. And these bars right in front of me that you guys are seeing they were absolutely packed, basically. And they had them coming out into the plaza. There's a little bit more space even, which is really, really nice. And to have that sun coming in was really, really fun. But you can see some of those palm trees, some of those lamp posts. And one of my favorite things about the plaza right in front of you guys right now are the lamp posts that were made by Antoni Gaudí. And these are well before he starts on the Sagrada Familia. This is really some of his first work by himself. He was given a commission by the city to make these lampposts all over the city, and we've only got 4 of them. We've only got 4 in the city, and you've got 2 right here. It's one right in front of you guys, and then one on the other side of that fountain as well. So this is a very early Gaudí, what he did. Very beautiful, beautiful lamppost right there. But again, another one of those amazing plazas you can see here in Barcelona. Give you guys some ideas what the Plaza Real looks like there. And there you go, I'm back right there. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming and joining me today. It was really a pleasure to be able to lead you around, show you what's going on in Barcelona. And I really hope, and it looks like some of you guys did as well. Thank you, Patrick, for your donation as well. And I'll just repeat that one more time. If anybody wants to jump on those links, leave a little bit of a donation. If you appreciated the tour, I would really appreciate that as well. But more than anything, I'm just happy to be doing these tours and bringing you a little bit of Barcelona. And I'm really excited for the collab with SANDEMANs. And guys, if you haven't already done this and you're not subscribed to either my channel or to SANDEMANs Live, make sure you hit that subscribe button, click those bells, and you know when more and more videos are coming out. Yeah? Hello? Yeah? Wanted to join in. But you'll know when those videos are coming out, and you'll get those messages and everything. What I'm doing over on my channel, apart from these tours, is getting videos ready to have you guys know what's going on while we can't travel right now, but even more than that, get you ready for when travel and tourism starts to come back to Barcelona. So if you're getting ready for that next trip, just make sure that you subscribe and everything.
How are you?
Hello, good, how about you?
We're both doing tours, how are you doing?
I'm very good, my man, very good. You doing a live stream?
Yeah, I'm live streaming.
We're live streaming, get that little prism going back and forth.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, be good.
Take it easy, take it easy. So there's more people out here doing those live streams as well. That's great. But again, guys, I can't say it enough. Thank you so much for everything, for joining me. And I cannot wait to see you guys again. Leave those comments. Let us know where you want us to take you the next time, where you want me to take you around Barcelona, seeing different places. And I'll see you on the next live chat. Remember, jump over to my channel right now if you guys want to have any questions or anything like that. You want to get those answered. We'll go over all of those things with an update on what's going on here in Barcelona. Take it easy.